Welcome. Today we will discuss about cookies and session in PHP. In the previous session, we have seen about designing graphical user interface with forms and validating GUI controls with PHP validation rules. Now, when we discuss about the web development, there are two important things which are involved: client and server. Client is always a front end, it is an interface which is visible to the user, and server which is acting at the back end and performing all the database operations. So, client sends a request to the server for an information, and server in response sends the required data to the client. There may be multiple clients approaching to the same service of the web server or different web services at the same time. Now, whenever the client is approaching or sending a request to the server, at that time a virtual link gets established between client and server, and that virtual link is known as a session. As there are multiple clients might be sending a request to the server, for every client request a unique session ID is assigned so that it is used for identification purpose. Now, whenever user or client is approaching via browser on the internet through any for to any application server. For example, if user is surfing amazon.com, then amazon.com is the server and user is browsing that web page. So once the user has entered his or her credential, then session is established, and whatever series of action are performed by that user will be tracked by this session, and for that purpose that session has assigned a unique id, and the sequence of action that are performed by this user since login till the logout can be tracked. So session tracking means since the user has approached to the server till the user log out, the series of action or task performed by the user can be recorded. That can be used for hacking purpose also. Now suppose if a original user has logged into the server with his or her credential, and in between if that session id gets leaked, the attacker will use that session ID, and that data can be misused, or the attacker can be performing operation on the original user's data on the server on behalf of that original user. As there can be multiple clients sending a request to the server at the same time, and server is responding to all the clients at the same time. So since all these clients are entered into the session, so what actions are performed by that clients will be recorded. So server is recording that action in terms of or with the help of cookies. So we can say that cookie is one of the option for session tracking. Cookie is created by a server and stored on the client machine for further use. So whenever user login into the browser for surfing on internet for any website, then the user might have entered his or her credential. So that website will get open, all the actions will be performed as per the user input. Then that server will generate the cookie out of all the input that user has entered, and that cookie will be created by this server and will be sent back to the client machine with its response. and that will be stored on the client machine. So on that machine, another user can make use of that cookies for misuse. For example, many of the times we know that on the system which we use, if we can go to the internet history, we can see all the names of the website that we have searched, and many of the times we can find out what the login details the user has entered. That's why we are making a practice going to the internet setting option, and we are deleting the browsing history, because we know that here the in the history the cookies resides. That cookie can be used by the another user which is operating on the same machine, can lead to misuse our data. And this cookie can have different advantages, like it has improved the user experience. Like it will act as a proxy. Whenever we enter our data, the further text will appear automatically, because we already had entered that data. It gives us the persistent data, and it is very easy to implement the cookie option for session tracking. Now, as I said, cookie is created by the server and stored on the client machine. So whatever input is given by the client machine, server will capture that input and will create a cookie out of it, and server will send that cookie on the client machine, and from that client machine that cookie can be retrieved and will be displayed to the user, or it may be used by another user. So how that can be created? For that we can design one application where we have to do two things. We have to create a cookie, we have to store a cookie, and later we can retrieve the cookie to see what has been saved last time. So for creating a cookie, we have a set cookie function. This set cookie function involves 7 parameters, out of which the first two parameters are compulsory parameter. We can give a name to the cookie with its value. So basically, if I want to define a cookie, I can say that cookie is a name and value pair which is created by server and stored on client machine, by using which we can track the session. In the third parameter, we can give the time when the cookie can be deleted. And in the path option, we can mention on the server where the cookie will be available. And in the domain, we can mention on which domain our cookie will reside. And secure and HTTP only are used for mentioning whether cookies will be transmitted by HTTPS protocol or by using HTTP only protocol. Now we will think about only two parameters, name and value. So basically set cookie function is used to create a cookie with name and value attribute, and for retrieving the cookie we have to use dollar underscore cookie variable, and in bracket we have to give the name of the cookie and which will return us the value. Now, suppose I want to design a graphical user interface which will act as front end or client for my application, where I might be using any input. Now it is login screen, so I will be designing it for username and password. And as it is a front end screen, a web page, we will write this HTML file. So I am writing this HTML file for login screen, where we can create the form, and we have to give in the path the server file name, suppose f2.php, and in method you can give get or post. Suppose I am giving post. Now here I want to design login screen with label username. In front of that I want a text box, so I am giving input type is equal to text, name is equal to I am giving un, After this, I want a break, and after that, I want to design a password field. So for password, we can have input type is equal to password, and name I can give pwd. Again break tag, and now we want to design a button which will be a submit type of button, and name of button is suppose okay, and I want the text to be displayed on button is login. So that I have given in front of value attribute. We can design another type of button, that is reset type of button. Name is cancel, and the caption or text which will be displayed on button is clear. Now end of form, end of body, and end of html. We will save this file under XAMPP htdocs with suppose f1.html name. Now we have to make sure that our XAMPP server is running. Minimize that. We have to start our local host which is available at 8080 port number. Give the name of our file f1.html. We can see username and password. Now for my application, this f1.html is one website or one application which I am the client is using. Whatever credential I will give over here, and whenever I will perform action by clicking on button, the server, this local host should have a program for creating a cookies of this data which I have entered, and that server should send that cookie on my client machine, on this client machine, and later if I want to retrieve that cookie, I should be able to display that cookies that has been created by the server. So on clicking on login button, that file should run. That server file we have given name as f2.php. Now we will write that PHP file with the start tag. We know that for reading the field value from this HTML file in our PHP file, we are reading that into one variable, suppose $n. Now I want to read the value which is entered in this text box at runtime by the user. We read that by using $_ post in square bracket. We are giving name of that field. The name of our text box is UN. So we will read that in UN, and same we will do for the password. Suppose in p variable I am reading the field from the form which is sent by the post method, and name of the field is pwd. The name of our second text box is pwd. Now we have, I want to create two cookies, one for username and second for password. So cookie is created with the function set cookie, and suppose I am giving name for the cookie as username, and the username will be, of course that will be in n variable which is entered by the user at runtime. Second cookie I want to create which is having name suppose password, and the password which will be entered by the user at runtime in this pwd text box is taken into p variable, so actual value will be p. Now cookie is created. Now we have to store this cookie, and whether cookie has been stored or not, that will be checked by using is set function. If is set, now cookie is saved, and with the global variable that is cookie, and we have to give the name of the cookie that we have created, that is username. So we are giving the name of the cookie. If it is set, with the is set function we are checking if it is set. Same we have to do for We have to apply the validation for second cookie, that is if is set which cookie name, that is password, whether it is set or saved, so that will be checked over here, and if that is set, then only we can show the value. So over here we will print the value cookie. We can print the value however you want to print. Username is equal to, which will be entered by the user, will be available by this variable dollar cookie and username, that we can see over here. After that, if we want the break tag, that we will write over here. Same we will repeat for password cookie. Suppose I want to display here that password is equal to dollar underscore cookie and the name of the cookie is password, and closing of if the cookie is not created or saved, we have to give a message that in the else block echo sorry, cookie not found, closing of PHP tag. Now we will save this file in XAMPP htdocs with the name f2.php. We will run this file. Suppose I am entering username as ABC and I am giving password as 123. Let's click on login. It is okay. There is an error. We have to check the brackets over here. This bracket is closed, and for each set we have to give the closing bracket. Let's refresh the file. Enter name is ABC and password is 123. Clicked on login. Cookie not found, because last time, this is the first time I have logged in. And if I refresh over here, click on continue, it is showing that latest recently I have entered username ABC and password 123. Now remember, for the first time we had enter ABC and password as 123. Let's go back to the client side, refresh the code. Now suppose I am entering username as Preeti and suppose I am giving password as XYZ. Let's click on login. It is showing the first cookie that has been created by server and that is still available on our client side. So it is showing the previous cookie. If I refresh it again, now it will show the latest value, that is Preeti and XYZ. Now there are no further cookies, so that's why it is showing the latest one. If I run it for the third time, it will show, suppose I am entering username as pqr and giving password as lmn and clicking on login, it will show the previous cookie, that is Preeti XYZ, and after refreshing or reloading the page it will show the latest one. So this is how we can create a cookie, store it and retrieve it. So importantly, set cookie function is used to create a cookie. Here we have to give the cookie name and value. For retrieving a cookie, we have dollar cookie variable and in bracket we have to give the name of the cookie. For checking or validating whether cookie is created or not, we have each set function to validate it. So this is how we can retrieve the cookie. Moving on, we will see about the next topic. So it means in the front end or login screen, which was the client side program, we had given the credential, and on the server we had a PHP file which created cookies, and on the client machine we can retrieve it again. Now, importantly, how we can decide the expiration time of the cookie. So cookie can be deleted by giving the time. So While deleting a cookie, we can give it in the set cookie function as a cookie name, its value, and the third parameter is for time. So in time, what we can give, the time function will give you the current time, and if we write plus 3600, it means it is 1 minute, and in 1 minute we have 60 seconds. So after 60 seconds, so for 1 minute we have 60 seconds. So one after 1 hour, it means after 3600 second means after 1 hour. Since the cookie is created, it's after 1 hour it will be deleted. If you want the cookie to be deleted immediately when the browser closes, we can give here minus instead of plus. So this was about cookie. Now we had talked about session. So how we can track the session, when the session has created, when the session has terminated. For that, we have dollar underscore session variable in the PHP. Here it is having number of attributes, or for the dollar session, which is an associative array having different parameters for which we can set the value. For example, by using dollar underscore session in bracket for the user parameter, I can set the value, and session start is mentioned with the session underscore start function, and whenever session terminate, we can mention it by the function. Now we will use the same client screen for GUI interface, which will be a front end for the user to log in. And after, once the user has entered the credential and once the code runs, we have to mention that when the session has started and which user has logged in, and when the session closes, that we can demonstrate over here. So we already have this front end screen which is having login form, and we have to write the PHP file for recording the session. Let's see, here we have the f1.html file which is login screen. So whenever the user enters a credential, when we run the code, for example, when I run this file, this is client form. Whenever user enters a credential and when user clicks on login button, I have to give a message that session has started and which user has logged in into the session, and after performing his or her task, we have to give the message at the end that session has destroyed or closed. So that code we need to write. So that server side program or that code we will write into the f2.php file. Now suppose we have taken username in un and password in the pwd. Now we have to just, once the user has entered all these details, we have to just start our session. So that is mentioned by session underscore start function. So it will start our session. So we will just give a message over here, session has started. It means the link is started from client to the server. Now we can show which user has logged in. So we can mention over here that echo, we know that which user logged in, that is available in dollar n user has logged in. So it means a username will be given, has logged in, and let me give the break tag over here so it will be easy to understand the code. Now, after performing any task over here, whatever the task is here, surfing the internet, performing the operation, and whatever task the server is doing over here is here. This is operational space of the server code. And now, after this, now suppose if the user has logged out, then we can mention that by using session underscore destroy function, and we can give the message to the user that session has closed or user has logged out. So save this f2.php file. We will check our login screen, refresh the code. Suppose I am entering username as a ABC and I am giving password as a 123. Clicking on login, it is showing that session has started. ABC user has logged in, and whatever the server task, whatever code we will write over here will be shown over here, and at the end it will show the session has closed. This is how we can track the session by using session underscore start and session underscore destroyed. Now, this was about the cookies and session in PHP. So, in this session, we have seen about the client and server concept, and there is a virtual link or the communication link gets established between the client and server, which is known as a session. And every session for every client is having a unique ID, and that session can be tracked. And of course, cookie is one of the option for tracking that session. Cookie is nothing but the name and value pair which is created by server and stored on the client machine. Cookie is created with the set cookie function, and it is retrieved by using dollar underscore cookie variable. And for session we have two functions, session underscore start and session underscore destroy, for demonstrating session start and showing the session close. So I hope you have understood these basic concepts in PHP. See you in the next session. Thank you.